So what happens when you're the only person in the room who refuses to follow an order you know is wrong? Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the story of John Kiriakou, the CIA officer who says he blew the whistle on the U.S. torture program and paid a price for it that's almost hard to believe. This is that story. We're talking about John Kiriakou, a decorated CIA officer who says he was put in that exact position. I mean, this is the guy who led the team that captured a top al-Qaeda operative. But what the CIA asked him to do next would change the course of his entire life and eventually land him in federal prison.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's May 2002. Kiriakou tells it like this. He'd just gotten back to CIA headquarters after this huge success, and he's literally just standing in the cafeteria line waiting for a sandwich when a senior counterterrorism official walks up and asks him something that sounds almost casual, but would end up changing his entire life.
So the question was, did he want to get certified in something called enhanced interrogation techniques? Now, Kiriakou says he'd never even heard that phrase before. All he was told was that this was a brand new program, totally legit, cleared by the Department of Justice, and signed off on by the president himself. The whole shebang.
Naturally, he asks, okay, so what are these techniques? And this is the list he was given. You can see it starts with things like slaps and grabs, but it escalates, and it escalates fast. We're talking waterboarding, the cold cell, which sounds just awful, and sleep deprivation for almost 2 weeks straight. To Kiriakou, this was just, well, it was torture, plain and simple. He was convinced these techniques were not only wrong, but that they would eventually get someone killed.
So you can imagine, he's got a really bad feeling about this. Kiriakou says he went straight upstairs, to the executive floor. He found a senior officer, someone he really trusted, and basically asked him, what do I do here? And the advice he got back? Wow. It was brutally honest. This guy didn't mince words. No euphemisms like enhanced interrogation. He just flat out said, let's call a spade a spade. This is a torture program. And then he made this prediction that, looking back, is just chilling. He said, someone's going to go overboard. They're going to kill a prisoner, and someone is going to end up in prison for it. And then he just asked him, do you want to go to prison?
Now, it's important to note, Kiriakou wasn't the only one who got this offer. According to him, there were 14 CIA officers in total who were asked to get trained up on these techniques.
And this is really the heart of the story. Out of all 14 of them, he says he was the only one who said no. He went back to his bosses and told them, I can't do this. He said he had huge moral and ethical problems with the whole thing, and that, he was pretty sure it was flat out illegal.
The career blowback, he says, was instantaneous. I mean, think about this. He had just led the team that caught the guy they thought was al-Qaeda's number 3, and he gets passed over for promotion. And the official reason they gave him? Get this. A shocking lack of commitment to counterterrorism. Just unbelievable.
So, a few years go by, Kiriakou actually leaves the CIA. But you know how these things go. The past has a way of catching up with you. And in December 2007, his phone rings. It's a reporter from ABC News. That call, plus what was happening in the news at the time, was about to force his hand.
Okay, so check out this timeline. Over the course of just 5 days, President Bush goes on the record with these 3 statements. First, he denies the U.S. tortures. Then he denies it again. And then, the final straw for Kiriakou, Bush blames any potential torture on some rogue CIA officer. For Kiriakou, that was it. He felt the writing was on the wall, that he was being set up to be that rogue officer, the fall guy.
So he decides he has to get out ahead of this. He agrees to the interview with ABC News, and as he puts it, he just decided to tell the truth. The whole truth. And he dropped 3 absolute bombshells. The CIA was torturing prisoners. This wasn't some rogue operation, it was official U.S. government policy. And it was personally approved by the president.
Well, you can probably guess what happened next. The reaction from the government wasn't just fast, it was furious. Literally within 24 hours of that interview airing, the CIA filed a crimes report against him with the FBI. The charge? Leaking classified information.
So here's a weird twist. The first FBI investigation, which happened under the Bush administration, actually went nowhere. They decided not to prosecute. Why? Because the FBI concluded the information was already basically public and you can't classify a crime. But then, the administration changes. President Obama comes into office, and Kiriakou alleges that John Brennan, a huge name in national security, personally went to the Attorney General and pushed him to reopen the case, allegedly saying, charge him anyway and make him defend himself.
And so they did. Suddenly, Kiriakou is facing this absolute mountain of charges. And look, this wasn't just some slap on the wrist. We're talking 5 felonies, including 3 counts of espionage. He was being charged like he was a spy for a foreign government. All told, he was looking at 45 years in prison, basically a life sentence.
So after years of fighting this in court, spending every penny he had, he was completely broke. He was backed into a corner. He ended up taking a plea deal. The sentence was 30 months. Not 45 years, but still, 30 months in a federal prison. So he goes to prison, but the story is far from over. The personal cost was immense and would stick with him for years, but there was a moment of vindication coming that is just incredible.
Get this, just 6 weeks before he's scheduled to be released from prison, the official Senate torture report is finally declassified and released to the public. And what did it say? In hundreds and hundreds of pages of excruciating detail, it confirmed everything. Everything John Kiriakou had said on TV years before.
It was a massive public vindication. And Kiriakou tells this story about Senator John McCain, a man who, of course, had been tortured himself as a POW, and how McCain stood on the floor of the Senate and said that if it weren't for John Kiriakou, the American people might never have known what the CIA was doing in their name.
But even with that kind of public support, the personal cost, it was just staggering. He was driven into bankruptcy, he lost his government pension forever, and when he got out of prison, he says he was so blacklisted he couldn't get a job anywhere. He was even rejected by Target and McDonald's. And that conviction, it sticks. He is still only the 2nd person ever convicted for violating the Intelligence Identities Protection Act.
So at the end of the day, Kiriakou's story, as he tells it, leaves us with this really big, really difficult question. It makes you think, right? It forces us to ask, what's the true cost of government transparency? Where do we draw the line between secrecy and accountability? And what's the real price an individual has to pay for speaking truth to power?